I know y'all thinking I'm going through something right now, and I got bags under my eyes and shit, but I just saw a video of Kodak, and I wouldn't want nobody to like do an intervention on me. That's why I want to put this video up, because y'all might think, oh man, Ye really going through right now, somebody need to go get him.
I ain't gonna lie, I missed the whole Super Bowl. That's a beauty right there. She pretty.
And we're following some breaking news. Kodak Black has been arrested in South Florida again. The rapper, whose real name is Bill Capri, is charged now with possession of cocaine and tampering with evidence.
Is Kodak Black on the brink of losing everything he's built? Once praised as a raw, brilliant voice in hip-hop, the Florida rapper has lately become a glaring cautionary tale, sparking an outcry from fans and peers alike. It's not just one unfortunate live stream or a single bizarre interview. This has been a pattern of alarming public meltdowns, legal drama, and a desperate struggle with substances that could ultimately cost him his freedom, his health, and even his life. Everything boiled over after a surreal appearance on a streamer's channel where he seemed to be completely out of it. Concern immediately flooded social media, overshadowing the lighthearted vibe that was supposed to dominate the show. This was far from the life of the party type of intoxication fans might shrug off. Instead, it looked like a grim snapshot of a star losing control in real time, prompting people to ask a question they'd been harboring for years. Does Kodak Black truly need an intervention before it's too late?
Niggas who think they the toughest nigga in the world now, and they just go around and told the same motherfucker you feel like, oh, this nigga know what you call it. What?
Yet this messy moment wasn't an isolated incident. Kodak has a history of flirting with danger, whether it's legal trouble, wild interviews, or references in his music that reveal more than he might realize. And while some have rallied around him, urging him to break the cycle and get help, he's lashed out, calling his critics broke or haters who can't relate to his lifestyle. When you look at the bigger picture, you see a volatile roller coaster of second chances and near misses. As he stands at the crossroads once again, those closest to him, along with a legion of concerned supporters, are desperate for him to choose the right path. But will he actually do it? The moment that reignited talk about Kodak Black's shaky state happened in front of the world on a popular streamer's show. What was supposed to be a high-energy collaboration quickly turned surreal. Kodak arrived visibly scattered and ended up mumbling incoherently, spewing random bars that suggested he was in no shape to be performing, even in front of a casual online audience. One particularly jarring instance was when he threw something that looked like a pill into his mouth from a distance, causing widespread speculation about whether it was a medically prescribed substance or something more dangerous.
Well, when I looked at it, I'm like, well, all of a sudden, now y'all want to put this shit as a random. I missed a drug test. When nobody notified me. Where nobody notified me. Nobody ain't hit my lawyer. Nobody ain't hit me. Nobody sent no emails and put no hazard alert like he need to come.
Though fans had witnessed Kodak in questionable states before, this broadcast felt different. Viewers didn't know whether to be shocked, sad, or simply fed up. People asked themselves why no one behind the scenes had intervened. If he was this incoherent on camera, what was happening away from the spotlight? A wave of alarm rippled through social media. Commentators, fellow artists, and even onlookers with no specific loyalty to Kodak pointed out that something was clearly wrong. Where were his real friends? Why was he left alone to embarrass himself in front of millions?
How did it feel after Drink Champs to have so many people basically like debating and arguing if you were f***ed up during that interview?
I was lit, but I wasn't lit like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm always know what I'm doing. I remember every thing to do. Ain't nothing ain't no nothing get past me.
Those questions led to new tensions. Some accused the streamer of exploiting Kodak for views, while others insisted that the broadcast platform was simply capturing a reality that the rapper's circle had allowed to go on too long. From that moment on, the conversation about Kodak shifted from typical celeb gossip to a more urgent concern over his well-being. But this was only one piece of a much larger story. His devoted fans knew Kodak had been treading on thin ice for years, juggling legal battles, substance issues, and an ongoing feud with the media. Now, the project baby who once oozed potential was drawing more headlines for these unsettling displays than for his music. Yet it wasn't the first time. To understand how Kodak got here, you have to rewind the clock. Kodak Black's saga began in Pompano Beach, Florida, where he made waves as a teenager for his unfiltered storytelling and one-of-a-kind delivery. Right away, people sensed this was a voice as raw as the environment that shaped him. But along with the promise of stardom came a chaotic personal life marked by numerous brushes with the law. Even in his teens, he was arrested for various infractions, setting a tone that would continue into his adult years.
I put it in for you, I spin for you, whatever you with, I'm with it. How you gon' cost a nigga that rockin' with, I got you.
By the time his music started taking off, Kodak was already known to boast about a self-destructive streak, at times referencing heavy drug usage in his lyrics. Although rap culture often glamorizes certain substances, fans began noticing that Kodak's confessions felt less like mere rap bravado and more like glimpses of an actual, ongoing battle. Disturbingly, his earliest controversies, like reckless driving, fights, and firearm charges, seemed to mirror the chaos he described in his songs. Over time, it became obvious that Kodak's issues went far beyond typical young rapper in trouble antics. In various public appearances, he looked spaced out, slurring his words or staring vacantly when asked questions. Social media posts hinted at ongoing tension in his personal life, whether it was family drama, label disputes, or unrelenting critics who ridiculed him. Some fans wrote it off as part of his persona, while others worried that these were red flags for a deeper problem. Ironically, all this turbulence fueled his reputation as an authentic voice of struggle. People connected to the unrefined honesty in his music. Kodak presented himself as a troubled soul who was simultaneously grateful for the success but unable or unwilling to leave the streets and self-destructive impulses behind. It was a shaky tightrope act, one that either generates unstoppable hype or catastrophic downfall. The question was how long it could last. In 2019, Kodak's trajectory took a dramatic turn when he was handed a 46-month prison sentence for weapons charges. At the time, it looked like a major pivot point, and fans wrestled with whether this was his final downfall or a necessary wake-up call. Suddenly, through a twist few saw coming, Kodak received a presidential pardon. Outgoing President Donald Trump commuted his sentence, giving the rapper a shot at early freedom.
I got the lyric. It said, "I'd change my life tonight if Donald Trump reduced my sentence." He not only reduced his sentence, he pardoned you.
All that good
It's hard. That's hard. It's never been done before. Yeah, how did that happen? Like, you in the cell and they just said...
He Gemini again. He was Gemini like me. His birthday 3 days after my and I wear like he be vibing out here too.
For a moment, it felt like a fairy tale intervention. How many artists in Kodak's position managed to score that kind of political Hail Mary? Released from prison, he emerged noticeably slimmer, calmer, and, some believed, better prepared to manage his career and personal life. Talk of him being cloned even circulated, mostly in jest, but partly a nod to the stark difference in his appearance and demeanor. Yet the euphoria surrounding the pardon soon crashed against reality. Kodak ran into more trouble, including a shooting incident outside a party following a Justin Bieber concert that left him wounded. And while he dismissed the severity of the event, describing it almost casually in interviews, it hinted that outside forces or maybe his own tendencies kept him pinned to risky situations. The spotlight was brighter than ever. After all, the high-profile pardon had put extra pressure on him to prove he could walk a straight path. Fans and media outlets wondered if Kodak recognized the gift he'd been given. Some heralded the second chance as a turning point, an opportunity to rid himself of destructive behaviors for good. Others pointed to a pattern they'd seen before, Kodak climbing out of one pit only to stumble into the next. So was this a real transformation or simply a pause between storms? Before long, Kodak found himself at the center of fresh controversies. Interviews that should have been promotional opportunities transformed into cautionary spectacles. One particularly notorious episode occurred on Drink Champs, where he came off so incoherent that even the show's hosts seemed bewildered. His slurred speech and meandering thoughts overshadowed any discussion about new music or future plans. Critics called out the interviewers, questioning why they would continue rolling cameras while Kodak appeared in crisis.
First bar that came to my mind, like when it came to that part, I knew fake, but I still ate it because I'm criminal. I really ain't want to say that shit.
It wasn't just hip-hop listeners who felt uneasy. Industry figures began voicing concern. Rap luminary Joe Budden pointed out how obvious Kodak's struggles looked to anyone paying attention, saying that there had been red flags for over a year. Others compared Kodak's erratic behavior to the late DMX's turbulent journey, noting parallels in raw talent, public battles with addiction, and an underlying pain that bled through their music. People started to ask how the industry as a whole was contributing. Were shows and platforms enabling Kodak to self-destruct in the name of entertainment? Amid the clamor, Kodak sometimes owned up to struggling with addiction issues, particularly with prescription meds. At other times, he brushed off or even mocked those who worried about him, accusing them of prying into his private life. This tension turned into a standoff of sorts. If he refused to listen, could anyone truly help him? Or would he inevitably hit rock bottom on his own? As the controversies piled up, a new rift emerged between Kodak and several popular streamers. Some artists claimed that these streamers exploit rappers for views and profit from their most vulnerable moments. The streamers fired back, defending themselves as content creators who can't always control how a guest behaves. Kodak wound up at the center of it all, a living symbol of a deeper conversation about mental health, substance use, and the entertainment machine that might, at times, feed off human calamity. Those tensions came to a head during arguments about who was responsible for letting Kodak appear in such questionable states on massive platforms. After the bizarre live stream performance, some fans pointed fingers at the content host for not shutting the session down when it became clear something was off. Others blamed Kodak's inner circle, contending they should have stepped in long before he was allowed to go live in front of an audience of millions. Lines are blurred, rappers seek exposure to boost their music and brand. Streamers look for exciting guests to drive viewership. But when addiction or mental health problems become apparent, the question becomes whether continuing the show crosses a moral line. Some streamers, including Aiden Ross and Kai Tenat, found themselves in heated back and forths with other artists like Lil Che, who accused them of capitalizing on Kodak's vulnerability. Amid this chaos, Kodak stayed defiant. He argued that his decisions were his alone, and if he wanted to indulge in substances on camera, that was nobody else's business. The fans who pleaded for him to get help were brushed off as haters who were seeking any chance to criticize him. For a moment, it almost looked like the entire internet was locked in a tug-of-war over his well-being. Supporters on one side, critics or cynics on the other.
Truck horn, like, ah! Sure. There we go. I can't go to sleep at all.
What you got going on?
But that's why sometimes you can't understand it, but at times when it feel good, that's what you say sometimes.
Yeah.
We're surgical, we surgical.
Despite the friction, there were genuine moments of compassion. Some streamers and industry figures openly stated they didn't want to see another tragedy unfold, especially not from someone many regard as a lyrical genius. Ray J even spoke out, mentioning that Kodak was difficult to handle at a political event, suggesting it was a prime example of how the people around him might fail to guide him in the right direction. But the chaotic spotlight never dimmed, and Kodak never quite withdrew from it. For all the turmoil, Kodak has never been completely silent about his battles. In fact, he's offered periodic glimpses into the push and pull happening inside his mind. There are interviews where he candidly admits he's been prescribed pain meds after being shot, acknowledging that he later began misusing them. He has also opened up about experimenting with more dangerous substances, though he tends to downplay the severity of it or even brag about the altered states it provides.
I don't got no money, man. These hoes be asking me for money. They be like, "Let me get some money, babe." I say, man, I ain't got no money, that money you be seeing me with on Instagrams, that be fake money.
At times, Kodak does express regret. He's acknowledged that lines like, "I knew the perk was fake, but I ate it because I'm a gremlin," from Super Gremlin, might glamorize a lethal gamble. According to him, it was a bar that came to mind spontaneously, not a literal blueprint for how to live. Still, the song's success meant that phrase resonated with countless fans worldwide. Whether he intended it or not, that lyric became something of a drug culture tagline, reinforcing how easily some might overlook the dangers of counterfeit pills and hidden substances. Frustratingly, for every introspective comment, there's a wild contradiction. One day he'll promise he's working on himself, claiming to have spent substantial amounts on rehab. Another day he'll appear on social media ignoring or even taunting viewers who say they appreciated seeing him sober. This unpredictability has made it hard for fans to know whether he's truly on the road to recovery or slipping deeper into addiction. Still, the glimpses of sincerity are there. He's mentioned wanting to be a better father and that he's expecting yet another child. That knowledge alone seems to weigh on him, as he's aware he has more than just his own life to think about. Yet addiction is insidious. Knowing you should change isn't always enough to overpower the urge to numb pain or chase highs. For Kodak, it's a constant clash between self-awareness and self-sabotage, broadcast live for the world to see. Over the last couple of years, Kodak's tried to tackle his problems through various means. Court orders sometimes mandated rehab. Personal realizations led him to speak publicly about wanting to quit destructive habits. There have even been periods where it seemed like he was making real strides. He showed up looking healthier, spoke more coherently in interviews, and dropped music that reminded everyone of the natural talent that got him here in the first place. Fans celebrated each milestone, hoping this time was different. Kodak even took to social media, describing how many pills he used to take daily, a number so staggering it's a wonder he survived. Realizing that might have been a breakthrough, as he seemed genuinely shocked by his own past behavior. He admitted that dealing with this publicly was tough, but insisted he was committed to cleaning up for the sake of his career, family, and mental clarity. Then came the setbacks. Another suspicious live stream, another meltdown on camera, or another run-in with the law. Even as he pointed out he was much better than before, he'd pop up online in an altered state. For fans who've followed him closely, it's a heart-wrenching cycle. They see the potential for redemption right in front of him, yet he keeps tripping over the same pitfalls. Some of Kodak's supporters have rationalized that relapse is part of the recovery journey, that you don't conquer addiction overnight. Others have grown frustrated, insisting that if he's not going to stay consistent, he should at least stop lying to fans about his sobriety. The tension between these views splits his audience. But if there's one thing everyone agrees on, it's that the cycle can't go on forever. The next slip could be his last in a world that's already lost too many artists to mental health crises and accidental ODs. For many on the outside looking in, Kodak Black's story feels like watching a tragedy unfold in slow motion. Friends, family, industry insiders, and fans alike keep throwing him lifelines, only to see him drift back into turbulent waters. And yet, there's a sense that all is not lost. Beneath the rebellious facade and the defensive online rants, Kodak has shown real self-awareness, at least in fleeting moments. He's acknowledged how precarious his position is, both personally and professionally. He's recognized the effect his downward spirals have on everyone around him, from business partners to family members. It's a pressure cooker situation. For every new single that he teases, fans flood the comments with pleas for him to get help. For every snippet of what looks like sobriety, people wonder if it's just for show. A growing number of voices are also concerned about the social impact of these episodes. When Kodak jokes about popping pills, he's not just speaking to an adult audience, he's speaking to impressionable teens, future rappers, and followers who might mimic that lifestyle. Some say it's just art imitating life, while others argue it's irresponsible to flaunt a struggle that left unchecked can turn deadly. Despite everything, Kodak remains a compelling figure. He's not the first star with demons, and he won't be the last. The pivotal difference is that hip-hop has seen too many cautionary tales turn into memorial tributes, too many shining talents gone before their time. Plenty of fans and fellow artists refuse to stand by and watch him become another statistic. They want him to break this cycle, if he's willing to do it for himself. So the real question is whether Kodak will finally find a path that leads him away from these destructive patterns. Will the love for his kids, his music, or his own desire to thrive overpower the constant allure of his vices? For a man who's lived on the edge for so long, taking that leap towards sustained sobriety and balance may be the hardest move he'll ever make. But it could also be the one that cements his legacy, allowing him to stand tall among hip-hop's legends instead of being remembered as another tragic loss. In the end, his fate rests not just on second chances from presidents or the patience of fans, but on whether he can truly confront what's driving him toward a dangerous lifestyle. Will this be the moment he shatters the cycle and proves everyone wrong? Or are we witnessing the slow unraveling of a deeply gifted artist who won't accept help until it's too late? Time will tell, but as the industry watches closely, one thing's certain. This story is far from over, and the final outcome remains Kodak's to decide. Kodak Black's journey encapsulates the harsh reality of fame, fortune, and an unshakable connection to darker temptations. He's a testament to raw talent that could burn out without the right support, or worse, without a personal willingness to break the chains he's lived with for so long. As the world continues to tune in, holding its breath, we're left to wonder if this latest chapter is the beginning of a redemptive arc or just another false dawn. Whatever comes next, we can only hope the man behind the music finds the strength to rewrite his own ending and keep that unmatched spark alive.